such as Christianity and Islam, is situated at the heart of Africa and has been termed Africa in miniature. That is why,
together, hand in hand, let us preserve the unity of our beautiful country, Cameroon.
This is a message from Royal FM, the listeners' radio.
Everybody.
Time now, na 2 o'clock for afternoon. Orange they add million them on top million them. Brand new motor them and treat them for go Morocco. Collect your own for hash 111 star 1 hash or hash 150 hash and even for max eat.
Orange is here.
Subscribe to Masuk for a strong and prosperous economy.
The 2pm Newscast
with
Mapala Zita.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to today's Royal Afternoon Edition, the 2 p.m. news on 88.4 Royal FM and live on YouTube at Royal FM Cameroon. My name is Mapala Zita. We take you to our lead stories. Cameroon's state budget for 2026 stands at 8,816 billion francs CFA, and eyebrows have been raising if at all that amount will be enough for the country's development projects.
Cameroon 2026 budget clearly reflects the government's intention to boost investment and support the sector. In my view, it remains limited when compared to the scale of our need.
Out of the country, Pope Leo XIV has arrived Turkey today in his first overseas trip since he ascended the papacy in May this year. And in sports, Cameroon has lost her opening game at the ongoing 2027 FIBA World Cup qualifiers to Cape Verde today. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the headlines. Good afternoon. Once again, you are welcome to the 2 p.m. news on Royal FM. The government of Cameroon has announced its economic, financial, social, and cultural program for 2026 fiscal year. The program, presented by Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion-Guti during a plenary session of Parliament yesterday night, is geared towards the reinforcement of economic growth and the amelioration of the living condition of the population. The program is based on the state budget of 8,816.4 billion francs CFA, presenting a 14% increase over the current state budget. Let's now listen to Head of Government Chief Dr. Joseph Dion-Guti in this excerpt selected for us by staffman Abel Bela Samari.
And medium-sized enterprises, social economy and handicrafts. Key actions will focus on finalizing enabling instruments for the law of 15 July 2025 to lay down subcontracting regulations in Cameroon with a view to strengthening the competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises, making the General Register of Social Economy Units operational and setting up 360 collective production units, structuring crafts industries by bringing together stakeholders from more than 10 sectors, 45 trades, and 301 professions under the umbrella of the Chamber of Crafts. In the tourism and leisure sector, government will give priority to the implementation of the following actions: strengthening inspections of tourism and leisure establishments, educating the public about tourism and leisure culture, and supporting local initiatives in these areas, seeking funding for the various leisure infrastructure projects, such as amusement park in Yaoundé, the Thalassotherapy Center in Kribi, and the Holiday and Leisure Center in Buea, promoting tourist sites in 2026 through the transfer of an overall budget of 1,200,000,000 CFA francs to more than 30 municipalities.
And while the government hails this budget as a step towards consolidating public accounts and achieving development initiatives, questions on whether the allocation will be sufficient have emerged given the needs and demands related to the transformation of the country's economy. Jeffrey Tachum had an exchange with an economist and compiled the reactions in this report.
Cameroon's 2026 budget is a reflection of the government's will to boost investment and support key sectors. But then, economists are concerned in regards to the amount of money allocated, pointing out it's insufficient. Jamo Haiwang is a research analyst at the Cameroon Economic Policy Institute.
It remains limited when compared to the scale of our needs, like upgrading infrastructure, improving trade logistics, accelerating digitalization, supporting industrial diversification, and strengthening social services. On top of that, a significant share of the budget relies on new borrowing at a time when our fiscal space is already tightening.
However, the economic experts believe that beyond the size of the budget, concern should be focused on how effectively will it be used.
With rigorous execution, reduced leakage, strong anti-corruption measures, and a clear prioritization of productive investment, this budget can become a real catalyst for structural change. But without improved governance in public spending, it will fall short of delivering the transformative impact the country expects.
Ultimately, the success of Cameroon's 2026 budget will depend on the government's ability to strike a balance between fiscal discipline and strategic investment in key sectors, paving the way for sustainable economic growth and improved standard of living.
The government of Cameroon has also announced the return of financial support to student entrepreneurs. This was during the presentation of the 2026 state budget plan last evening by Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti in a plenary session at the Parliament. Our reporter Ngang Nadesh sampled the opinions of some Cameroonian youth on this new development and now reports.
Cameroonian youth are reacting to the news of renewed financial support for student entrepreneurs with cautious optimism, with many taking the announcement with a pinch of salt, wondering if the gesture would translate into tangible opportunities. Jeremy is one of them.
It's a very good initiative, but the question is, are we sure it will get to the right people? Because saying is one thing and doing or acting is another thing. If and only the fund won't divert its purpose, I think that's gonna be a good thing, and it will go a long way to help students with their project, especially those who into business.
Franklin shares a similar view with concerns that nepotism and favoritism could limit access to these opportunities.
I am one of those Cameroonians who are very skeptical when it comes to government decisions, especially those that are to support the masses. The government has a good idea of supporting young entrepreneurs, but now when the money will be disbursed, are we sure that the money will reach in the right hands? Because it's very clear that in Cameroon, nepotism has gained grounds over merit. People who are in charge of sharing the money among the young entrepreneurs, they will take the money and sell it out to people that they like. They will even infiltrate names that do not even exist in the list, and that's how the money will be disbursed to the wrong hands. It's a good idea, but if it is not well executed, it is meaningless to a common Cameroonian.
Julius, on his part, adds that corruption and nepotism might undermine the effectiveness of such government initiatives.
The problem of this nation has never been good ideas. They come up with good ideas, but as they say, can be action now, good action they go take. Because when they bring up this idea like they become good, then you will end up seeing that those that they are financed will not even end up being the student entrepreneurs, but will be the brother of the sister of a relative to and a brother-in-law too. So it will become a power type of thing, a connection type of thing, and at the end, those that really need this help will not be the ones that will be touched.
He is emphasizing the need for concrete measures to ensure accountability and transparency in the implementation of these initiatives so that the funds actually reach the intended beneficiaries.
What machinery have been put in place to follow up the sharing of this money so that it meets the target population? That is my worry. In fact, that is what a government should do for its citizens. But will this amount reach the key people that need it? So if a good channel have been made with good follow-up and reports given with video evidences and clear ideas that will support for this to go on, then I am 100% for it and I applaud the idea.
The renewed financial support for entrepreneurial students comes as one of the measures to fulfill President Biya's promise to make women and youth the center of his new mandate during his inaugural speech last November 6, 2025.
Gang Nadesh in that report. And still to come in this newscast, ladies and gentlemen, we discuss with Cameroonians following a parent promising help for school administrations for shaving a portion of her child's hair.
Whenever you go for admission into a school, they will give you the rules and regulation of the school.
The fact that schools take decisions to cut students' hairs is very, very good. I strongly support it.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to the 2 p.m. news on Royal FM and watching us live on YouTube at Royal FM Cameroon. The second preparatory meeting for the 6th edition of the Youth Connect Cameroon Convention has taken place in Yaoundé. The meeting held at the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, where stakeholders came together under the chairmanship of Minister Mununa Fotsu to intensify preparations for the competition set to hold this December from the 8th to the 13th to select best solutions in the field of artificial intelligence. Here now is an excerpt of Minister Mununa Fotsu selected for us by our reporter Annie Lizette Ambassa.
This 6th edition of the Youth Connect Cameroon Convention will be just after the important inauguration speech of the head of state during his swearing-in ceremony, in which he reiterated once more his political will to put young people at the center of his septenate. That's why we do hope that this 6th edition should be special and respond to the preoccupation of young people, particularly aligned with the special plan for the promotion of youth employment that he launched during his swearing-in speech. After this last preparatory meeting, we can assure the opinion that this Youth Connect Cameroon Convention is already on the track, because all the activities are already prepared in different commissions, and the major innovations this year should be the activities on youth excellence, particularly in schools, because we'll give awards to all the laureates of the national examination, that's at the level of primary and secondary.
And as you heard a couple of minutes ago, a situation has emerged where a parent fell out with school administration after her daughter's hair was shaved without her consent. The said parent has been pouring out her anger against the act, which according to her is unauthorized. Following the situation, our reporter Glory Ngange spoke with some Cameroonians who shared their opinions on the issue. Here is her report.
Misunderstandings between parents and educators over actions on students often result from the non-respect of school rules and regulations provided to parents upon registration. The promise is a parent.
This problem of haircut, whenever you go for admission into a school, they will give you the rules and regulation of the school. Either the girl child is to plait or not. So if they can give you the rules and regulations and you accept that your child will school in the school, it means that you have accepted their rules and regulations that you are going to follow.
Lumumba sides with the actions taken by some schools, which according to him is a way of implementing discipline in learners.
The fact that schools take decisions to cut student hairs is very, very good. I strongly support it because you cannot discipline a child, tell children to shave their hair before coming to school, but they keep on coming with long hairs, and when they cut it now, it becomes a problem. I'm sorry, but sometimes we need hard decisions, we need hard punishments on some of these children for them to clearly understand what is discipline.
In a case where the parents and the students in question are guilty of going against the institution's rules, such an act is not supposed to raise eyebrows. The promise once again.
So it should not be a surprise for a parent, because they always say it when you come to register your child. So if they are shaving, you must have been aware that they shave or they don't shave. If you know that they shave and then you send your child, it should not be a surprise again.
With the parents threatening the school administration, many have emphasized the strict respect of teachers and schools by parents and children to ensure discipline during the learning process.
Glory Gange also caught up with a pedagogue who gives an appraisal of the act and also highlights some reasons that can provoke an administrator to cut a student's hair. Let's listen to Julius Niba in this excerpt.
I want to make you understand that in all schools, there are rules and regulations that are given to the parents before the beginning of the school. This mother will come out to make the people see how incompetent the school administrators are. Likewise, they will not come out to tell the people how careless and irresponsible they are also as parents at times. Before you see a school pass to a measure of cutting the hair of a child, that does not mean that the school administrators don't know the risks involved. It is when the child has become notorious and the act has become recalcitrant that they have to pass to this very harsh measure. Because normally these parents have to look into the hair of the child, make sure that the hair is cut short or plait it in the right way to suit the smooth functioning of the school, because the school is a place where a child should dress simple, neat, and in uniform and learn.
Activities marking the 16 days activism against the gender-based violence continue gaining steam across the national territory, with multiple cases of violence on women recorded in most matrimonial homes. Freeman Crispin interviewed a sociologist on what can account for such recurrent phenomenon. She put together this report.
Violence on women in most marriages is generally fueled by the mode of communication used by some women. Tungong Valentine is a sociologist and marriage counselor.
Now, the women most at times talk about their marital issues too much. They talk to the wrong audience, that is, to people who do not have what it takes to manage the situation. Another aspect is that when they pose these problems, they get advice from these people and then they begin to execute whatever advice they get. Now, you cannot advise somebody in a relationship without listening to the other party.
Another aspect is how empowered women are nowadays, a big problem to the heads of families.
Many women, since they are becoming financially stable, they want now to have some level of financial autonomy. Like I said, marriage is two, and when one person is no longer respecting, executing his or her obligations, his or her functions, it makes things difficult. So many women want autonomy, and the man who is the head of the family would not want to let that happen. And you see, that's already a source of problem.
As remedy to this phenomenon, the marriage counselor Tungong Valentine recommends fluent communication between the couple. Meanwhile, the state and human rights organizations are doing a whole lot to end violence on women in marriages and reveal that men should go through proper training about marriage.
We now take you into the society. The festive period is fast approaching and concerns have been raised on the high level of criminality, such as aggressions experienced during this time. As a result, pushing many Cameroonians to adopt techniques in order to stay safe. While speaking with some of these Cameroonians, Evans Williams Njobati recorded their various strategies in this report.
Generally regarded as a risky period from ending November to the entire month of December, has caused many Cameroonians to develop safety measures for an easy ride throughout this celebration time. Lambert Onana resides in Yaoundé.
First and foremost is I don't go to visit people who I meet on social media. Make sure I stay away from people I don't know. Always accompanied, especially when you walk in the night or you are in areas which you don't have a mastery of area. I also make sure I don't stay out late that much. 6, 7, 8, I'm home already. I make sure I get all the basic necessities I need. Stay home with my family, just spend a good time.
Same approach adopted by Joseph Epie, who views one's personal security to be of utmost importance.
With the present location I find myself in, that is in Boya, the southwest region, where we usually have ghost towns on Mondays, do struggle to ensure that I am home at least 7 p.m. for fear of the unknown. I equally struggle as much as possible to keep late nights. It mustn't come from men of the underworld, but because of the fact that we have some hoodlums out there who actually take advantage, harassment and everything, I struggle to be at home as early as I can.
Getting to David Itolo Jr., staying indoors is the least best methodology.
It means a lot for people to celebrate and make sure that things go well the way it's supposed to be. Protection is an important thing because when it's not time to go out, don't go out. When you go out thinking that you're going to celebrate, it's instead when you go out that things worse can happen. If you see that it's unnecessary to move out, it's better you stay at home and enjoy with your family, which is another way of making sure that the end of year festivities go well.
Coupled with that, these Cameroonians are of the fact that unnecessary late night displacement during this time are more of a harm than good.
You can't actually know where they are nor what they are planning, and I do struggle not to keep myself around a crowd of persons I don't know or get into discussions I have little or no idea about.
Make sure you don't work with a heavy sum of money as well, because there's some people who use spiritual effort to know what's inside people's back and pockets. Make sure you just there cool. You see, the festive period is going to pass.
Drawing references from official reports, Cameroon has a crime index rate of 63.5%, indicating a moderate to high level of crime waves, whereas the country's safety index rate stands at 36.5%, suggesting that visitors and inhabitants exercise caution as the year is slowly fading away.
Out of Cameroon, the African Union, ECOWAS election observer missions and West African leaders have condemned the latest military takeover in Guinea-Bissau. In a joint statement released last evening, few hours after the coup, the missions voiced their concerns over the arrest of incumbent President Embalo Sissoko and some of their agents. Some senior military personnel announced on Wednesday that they had taken total control of the country, arrested the president, and closed borders. Meanwhile, the United Nations said it was observing the situation with deep concern. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has ordered an overhaul of the country's security forces facing a kidnapping crisis. Tinubu yesterday authorized the recruitment of an additional 20,000 security personnel on top of the 30,000 already approved. The statement further noted that the country is on a national emergency and will thus be deploying more boots on the ground, especially to security-challenged areas. Pope Leo XIV has arrived Ankara for his first overseas trip since assuming the papacy in May this year. The 68-year-old pontiff was greeted at an Ankara airport by senior Turkish officials earlier today before heading to the presidential complex, where he is about now holding a meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Pope Leo's 4-day schedule in Turkey also includes interfaith meetings with Muslim leaders, gatherings with local church leaders and Christian communities in Istanbul. He will also lead a holy mass before leaving for Lebanon on Sunday for the second leg of his tour. We come back with sports just after this break. And in sports, Cameroon's senior men's basketball team has lost their opening game at the 2027 FIBA World Cup qualifiers to Cape Verde. The team lost by 77 to 82 baskets and will now shift focus to the next game against Libya tomorrow. In order for the Lions to qualify for the next stage, the team will have to finish among the top 3 in Group A, which features South Sudan, Cape Verde, and Libya. In football, the FIFA Women's International break kicked off on Monday, November the 24th, and several African teams across the continent have entered training camps to begin preparations for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. But unlike their rivals, Cameroon's senior women's national team is facing a different reality with a training camp. Viewer Brian paints the situation in the following report and shares views from an expert.
Just 3 months stands between the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon and the 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations, and somehow the prevailing sentiment is that the current international break was a perfect moment for Cameroon to fine-tune preparations, but that is not the case as the Lionesses have been left without a camp. Akumani David, however, challenges this widely held belief, providing justification for why the team's absence from a training camp is, in his opinion, the correct decision.
I think that first of all, they don't have a coach. They're in a very complicated situation right now. But I think that the federation needs to come in to rescue the situation, because going out of the Nations Cup, being defeated by Algeria, and knowing that you not participate, and out of a sudden you are being called to participate maybe as a guest.
Akumani David further justified this situation by pointing out that the federation, which is responsible for appointing a coach who would then request a training camp, is currently focused on its elective General Assembly, which is scheduled for Saturday, November 29 in Bankomo.
The federation have this in mind, knowing that the election is coming up on Saturday. I think that they can come back to the drawing board and ensure that female football in the country is rescued. As I said, I have confidence when it comes to female football. Whenever we have gone down, we are able to come back stronger and do better things.
The critical issue here is the disparity in activity. As the Lionesses sit idle, their rivals are busy. A prime example is the defending champions of the WAFCON, Bayana of South Africa, who are in camp and recently traveled to Morocco for a friendly game. Burkina Faso is also scheduled to play a friendly game against Morocco today, while Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe are currently competing in a Tri-Nation Women's Football Tournament hosted by Malawi.
I think that we have to do first things first. We need to first appoint a coach. We don't have a technical staff as we talk. Who is going to convoke the players? Let's do things one after the other. The election is coming on Saturday. We appoint a new technical staff. Then the next international break, we call the players. Then I think that we'll see how to prepare for the Nations Cup.
Notably, Cameroon's current inaction is framed by a convoluted timeline. After initially failing to qualify and subsequently sacking the coach, the team only secured its place in the WAFCON via a CAF wildcard entry. With a new head coach yet to be appointed, the current international break has been lost, and the critical factor now is time, as the team has only one remaining international window in February 2026 for a training camp before the WAFCON begins in March.
With the 64th Cameroon Cup fast approaching, the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Mwelekombi, has challenged the 16 heads of the organizing commissions to intensify their efforts. The minister specifically called for greater diligence, innovation, and accountability from groups like security, health, ticketing, and logistics. He passed the instructions during a preparatory meeting held yesterday at the premises of the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education. Olivier Ndema-Epo has joined me in the studio with a summary of this newscast in the French language. Bon après-midi, Olivier.
Good afternoon, Mapalazita. La 6e édition de la convention Youth Connect Cameroun est en cours de préparation au ministère de la Jeunesse et de l'Éducation civique. Le ministre Mouna Futsu, à cette occasion, a tenu hier la 2e et dernière réunion préparatoire avec des responsables des commissions dans la ville de Yaoundé. Le complexe hospitalier La Mamu, de concert avec l'ONG Youth Development Foundation, organise depuis hier une campagne de 3 jours dans la ville de Yaoundé. Il est question de sensibiliser sur les dangers liés à la tuberculose ainsi que les moyens de barrer la voie à cette affection. Hors de nos frontières, le pape Léon XIV entreprend ce jour son premier voyage pontifical depuis son élection le 8 mai dernier. À l'occasion du 1700e anniversaire du Concile de Nicée, le successeur du pape François va se rendre en Turquie et au Liban. Les enjeux de ce premier voyage pontifical dépassent le cadre religieux. Et puis sport pour finir, Le Cap-Vert a dominé le Cameroun 82 points contre 77 aujourd'hui aux éliminatoires de la Coupe du monde de basketball messieurs. En dépit de cette défaite, le Cameroun demeure en course et garde des chances de qualification pour la Coupe du monde de basketball messieurs. Les Camerounais devront dominer la Libye et le Soudan du Sud. Le tournoi éliminatoire se déroule à Rades, en Tunisie.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the package we gathered for you on today's Royal Afternoon edition. The 2 p.m. news received technical assistance from Salomon Esana. Brian Bida and Boris Tedongmo took care of the cameras for our social media handles. Production assistant Glory Gange, script editing and editorial coaching Abel Bela Samari, central coordination Roger Kiek, our station manager, and general supervision by the Reverend Pastor Bisai Emmanuel Noel. For news editing and presentation, my name is Mapala Zita. Thank you all for your kind attention, and do have a pleasant afternoon in the company of programs over Royal FM. More news comes up at 6 p.m., which will be a bilingual edition. But before then, you will be entertained to good music, a careful selection of Salomon Esana. And at 3 p.m., Florent Goyam will be here for the program Miroir Societal. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned and stay blessed.